Hey, what is happening, guys? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and of course, we're going to discuss a little bit more of Super Mario 3D World Deluxe and everything happening with Bowser's Fury, and most specifically what I want to focus on is how Bowser's Fury might be giving us a window into what the next Mario game could be. So as you could imagine, the main motivation for making this video for you guys today was the trailer released early this morning. This is basically day 2 of the Bowser's Fury info dump, where Nintendo uploaded basically a 7-minute trailer actually giving us the narrated, detailed explanation of what this whole game is going to be, which, funnily enough, is exactly what I was discussing in my prior video the day the first trailer went out, where I said the game looks very cool, it was good on the Wii U, Bowser's Fury looked incredibly insane, I'm so excited for it, but also, why didn't they give us this information and actually detail it? I said all that yesterday, and now here we are today, the following day, and Nintendo basically did that. It's actually been pretty funny. There's been a good couple of jokes out there about Nintendo probably watching my YouTube channel and making decisions based off of what I say. I highly doubt that, but I like to think and wonder that maybe they are watching. Now, before I continue to dive down this rabbit hole about Mario 3D World Deluxe and Bowser's Fury and all of this stuff, I do, of course, want to remind you that I am currently pushing to cross 15,000 subscribers. I am almost just over 100 away from hitting that goal, which is crazy exciting, so I do want to let you know I'm always making new videos and making several uploads and content a week, discussing mostly Nintendo and Metroid, but of course discussing all things gaming. So as you watch this video, if you like what you see and what you hear, then hopefully you'll consider subscribing to the channel to help me cross that milestone very soon. So the majority of the 7-minute video that Nintendo posted on Mario 3D World Deluxe today focused on was actually just Mario 3D World Deluxe itself. In some ways, it was trying to sell the core concept of the game to new players, people who didn't play it on the Wii U. In other ways, it was focusing on some of the few new features and bells and whistles being thrown into the core game for the Deluxe release. The main things really being the camera feature, the stamp feature where you can place stamps throughout the world, and then of course just the basic online play. And these are all things that the original release on the Wii U did not have in 2013. So sure, it's definitely cool to see that stuff thrown into the game. For myself, as somebody who still owns and has played the original Wii U release, none of that gets me too excited. I mean, the online play does a little bit, to be honest, but for the most part, I'm really not focused or excited about the actual game, just because, again, I've already played it and I still own it. Now, Bowser's Fury has been the main focus. I mean, heck, on my channel, in the past, 3 or 4 days, this is the 3rd video I've made on this game. It's crazy how this has happened. Bowser's Fury has been the real interesting key component to this whole thing because it is new content, it is a promise of a new adventure and something that those of us who played the first game will never have played. So if maybe we're not interested in buying the game a second time, it's all about Bowser's Fury potentially convincing us to do so. And it was really only the back third of this 7-minute video that Nintendo used to focus on Bowser's Fury. And they definitely gave us some really good information. There's a couple of things still kind of missing, but I don't want to take away from the fact that they did actually give us this trailer that I literally asked for yesterday. So it's so funny. I thought it was going to take them another 2 to 3 weeks to even release a trailer like this, and they literally followed it up the very next day. So in that respect, very cool on Nintendo. Good on ya. I'm glad you had a trailer like this ready to go. And, you know, the basic gist of what they detailed about Bowser's Fury was really just the setup and the context. They didn't really give us an idea of the scope or the length of the adventure. Now, luckily, something that they did do is, of course, they updated the official page on Nintendo's website for the game, and they do feature a couple of little bits of information about the game, beyond what they showed in the trailer. So I'll show you kind of what they've done here. Here they say, Bowser Unchained. Mario was sent to Lake Lapcat, where everything is cat-themed, and Bowser has gone berserk. Team up with Bowser Jr. to help his dad chill out in this short but action-packed standalone adventure. And they say it's a real catastrophe. In this free-roaming adventure, you'll travel to various islands in Lake Lapcat to collect cat shines, to reignite lighthouses and clear darkened terrain. Watch out for Bowser, though. And there's a couple of other things they feature, but really that's the gist of it. And so they basically showed it's a big open world area. You get all these cat shines, which we saw in the first trailer. Bowser will wake up every once in a while and try to attack you, and then he'll go back to sleep. With enough shines, you then unlock the big Super Cat Bell, and once you do that, you become Big Cat Mario, you fight, and then it's over. All in all, I find this to be interesting stuff. I like the context. I like the idea of having a world to explore, and by doing certain things in the world, you're affecting the larger aspects, both being huge Bowser and then, of course, the Cat Bell to allow you to turn into, like, Giga Super Saiyan Cat. And I think that all of that stuff sounds really fun. Now, the one thing I will say, because again, they didn't really detail the scope of this, is I am a little bit concerned still that it might not be a huge adventure. I think we really might be looking at something that's about 2 hours, give or take, right? The closest we have to anything that indicates the length is where they say again on this page, team up with Bowser Jr. to help his dad chill out in this short but action-packed standalone adventure. Now, short is subjective, so maybe, you know, you could say that Nintendo using short won't be the same short that everyone else feels. And I agree with that. I mean, we're not really going to know until we actually have the game, or until maybe people have reviewed it and can tell us what the length of the game is. But I'm just telling you my gut feeling, based on the trailer, the information they detailed, the stuff it says here on this website. I feel like it's going to be pretty short, you guys. It looks awesome. The gameplay, the world, the graphics, everything about it looks like a ton of fun. But is it going to be a lengthy experience? I just kind of don't think so. Now, the real question, and of course the main purpose of this video, is how this might be informing some of where Mario might be going in the future. If you remember in my last video about the first trailer, I stated that what it looked like we might be seeing is something akin to really just a kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey, where Mario Odyssey gives us all these different kingdoms, and they're basically just, you know, a long list of fairly small open world maps, right? All with a different theme and different locations. And what we're seeing from Bowser's Fury really does look very similar to that, you guys. It seems like, as they've detailed it, that some of my hunch there was pretty correct. And this is kind of like a Mario Odyssey kingdom, only it's taken from Mario Odyssey and plopped into Mario 3D World. And granted, it's adding the huge Bowser element in like the middle of the map that attacks you, but with that one exception, the core concept of just having a big open world to run around and do stuff in, it feels kind of like the Odyssey experience. And while Odyssey and 3D World are two games that are a little bit lower on my Mario list, they are still both very good games, and the idea of combining them, of course, is very cool and exciting to me. Now, because of some of these similarities, we've probably all seen a few people on Twitter and on their YouTube channels talking about the idea of the next Mario game being Super Mario Odyssey 2. A lot of people feel that they're going to make a direct follow-up to Super Mario Odyssey, and a lot of the ideas and the core elements being thrown into Bowser's Fury is a showcase of how Mario Odyssey 2 will probably be their next game. And I will freely admit to you guys that, I mean, yeah, that certainly could be the case. Maybe it is going to be Mario Odyssey 2. But I don't 100% buy into that. I'm kind of thinking they are going to more move forward with something different and something brand new. But I do think what it might be is something that draws on the experiences of both of these two games together. The core mechanics and concepts of Mario 3D World, and the core mechanics and concepts of Super Mario Odyssey. Now, one thing I do want to mention, and something that I don't really think will follow into the next Mario game, is Cappy, okay? Because Cappy is so integral to the Odyssey experience, and it was really cool. It was a great concept. In some ways, it was used very well, and it was very fun. And then there were other ways where it actually felt a little bit underwhelming to me. That's part of the reason why Odyssey is a little bit lower on the list for me, is the Cappy mechanic worked well in some areas, but not so much in others. And so the whole thing just kind of, it only made it about halfway there just for myself, okay? I still liked the game, though, so don't worry. I liked Odyssey. I beat the game. It was fun. It was fine. It's very pretty. But I just think that going forward, Nintendo is probably not going to take the Cappy idea any further. And again, I could be wrong, but I feel like they want to go more into a bigger open world. I think that Odyssey was their first step into an open world concept for a Mario game, and the way they chose to do it in that game was by chopping up the open world into a bunch of smaller open worlds. And here, what we're seeing now in 3D World's Bowser's Fury seems to indicate taking a bunch of kingdoms and putting them into one larger open world, because as far as we know, this is one big map in Bowser's Fury, and we've seen a rainy area, a snow area, a desert area, a water area, like a normal, I don't know, just like a normal area, right? So we're seeing all these ideas that in Super Mario Odyssey was split up into different maps and different levels to go to. In 3D World's Bowser's Fury, it's just one big map, which is the way we think of open world games, right? Think of Breath of the Wild, think of Skyrim, think of any big open world game. and you can go to different areas and different sections and different altitudes, and you're going to get different weather and different environments based on where you are within one huge map, not by going and selecting from different tinier maps throughout the game. While Bowser's Fury is obviously just a shorter, smaller, bite-sized segment of a game thrown into an older game compared to Super Mario Odyssey, I still think that what it is an evolution over Super Mario Odyssey. Yes, Odyssey was the bigger, more fully fleshed out complete game than what Bowser's Fury is just being an addition, but I think that when you look at the concept of taking Mario from, all the previous 3D games from 64 to Sunshine and the Galaxy games, and then you go to 3D World, the initial release on the Wii U, and then you come to Odyssey, which is a huge jump over the original 3D World release, into suddenly getting more open world with the ideas, and now we come back with the Bowser's Fury thing, and again, I know it's going to be a much smaller experience compared to the fully featured Odyssey, but the concept of open world, I feel, is evolving with Bowser's Fury, and that makes me very excited. And so it's just hard for me to believe that Nintendo won't go even one step further and finally give us what I've really wanted and what I hoped Mario Odyssey was going to be, just a huge open world map in the Mario universe. Think of what it was like to play Mario 64 for the first time, especially those of us old enough to have played it when it first came out, I was 16 years old when that game came out, and I was the perfect age to have my mind blown, and it took over my life for the next 2 years. All I could ever think about or talk about or play was Super Mario 64. And when that game starts and you just show up in the front lawn of the Mushroom Kingdom and Peach's Castle, and you're like, holy crap, I have this huge area to just go and explore in 3D for the first time ever. It was so exciting and so cool and so much fun. I liken it to the first time you step into Hyrule Field in Ocarina of Time as well, which, to be fair, Ocarina of Time was way more actually open world than Mario 64 was. But Mario 64 came first, and that feeling was so new and exciting. And then, of course, you play the game, and they do a similar thing to Odyssey, where they've truncated the experience and they've split up the places you go into paintings. And so you just warp from one level to another. And the Mushroom Kingdom Peach's Castle really just became like a hub. But my memory of that experience the first time is what I still hold on to today. And so now I try to envision a game where you actually start the same way. Here's Peach's Castle, here's the entire Mushroom Kingdom to explore, and instead you just explore it. You don't have to go to warp points or stars or planets or paintings or little Mario M's painted throughout Delfino Plaza. You can just literally go throughout the entire world. I mean, they could make a map, a Mushroom Kingdom map to me that's, I would say, 2/3 the size of Breath of the Wild's, 66% we'll say, 67% the size, and I think that would still be a pretty darned big map, and that would be a huge Mario experience. And what's really exciting about that to me is, by the very nature of changing a Mario game into just an open world situation like a Breath of the Wild or a Skyrim, you're also changing how the game plays, and you're changing what your goals are going to be and how Mario interacts with the world and what he's trying to accomplish as he's running around the world. Because in all the old games, you have to go to a kingdom or a painting or a planet, and you have to follow the designated path to get to the star or the shine or the moon that you're trying to get, right? Well, the moons, to be fair, went a little bit more general, but going to the older stuff, Mario Galaxy and 64 and Sunshine, you're following a preset path. You select the one you want to go for, and then the level will shoot you kind of towards that goal. But it's going to be so different if there is no structure like that, and instead it's just a big Mushroom Kingdom to just run around in, and you get to go to different sections and mountains and underwater and the snowy area and the desert area, and you can just walk between them all. I mean, at this point, I'm really just explaining an open world map to you, which we all know. I don't need to explain this idea to you any further. You know what I'm talking about. And this is just all to say, I think the steps I've seen from the Wii U's 3D World to the Switch's Mario Odyssey, and now the Switch's Bowser's Fury Edition, I'm personally seeing an evolution more and more into the open world idea for a Mario game. And I think Bowser's Fury is going to be the last thing we see before we get the fully featured, fully priced $60 massive open world Mushroom Kingdom adventure. I personally really think that that's where we're going with the next Mario game. Of course, as I always try to remember and remind you guys, I could be wrong. This is just one guy and one fan's guesses and predictions and theories based on the limited info we have. We're only just now starting to understand what Bowser's Fury is, and I'm a 40-year-old gamer, so I grew up on all the Nintendo generations and Mario games from the beginning until today, and so I'm just using my experience and what we're seeing now to inform my opinion, and that opinion being I think we're going open world with the next Mario game. But of course, now that you've heard these opinions and these theories from me, I do want to hear what you think about my breakdown and my thoughts, and of course, I want to hear your own. If you agree with what I'm saying, do you think maybe it's going to be something different? Are you completely on board with the idea that we're going fully open world next and that Bowser's Fury is showing us that that's what they're going to do? Whatever you think, talk about it below, and of course, I want to remind you again at the end here, definitely don't forget that I'm always making videos and new content, so of course, don't forget to subscribe, again, if you like what I'm doing, and if you like what you heard here today. So, with that being said, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.